Welcome back to another episode of Wrenchie. In this episode, we finished the major maintenance on our 2012 Ninja 1000. Today, we'll tackle tires and wheel bearings. I bought myself these Motion Pro Bead Pro breaker bars, so hopefully this will do the trick. And I got myself a valve stem tool to remove the core, so let's start there, get the air out. As you can see, I've got the tire up on some wood blocks just to keep everything off the ground. Some soapy water will help lubricate this. Someone else said Windex works really well too, so I happen to have it handy, so let's give that a shot. Got these rim shield 2s. You can see those. Theoretically, to protect your rims while you're doing this manhandling of tires. So here they are out of the package. Hooks over the rim, and your tool rests against this so you don't scuff up the rim. So I guess they go in something like that. Okay. Whew. We're going to have to get a whole lot better at that before this is worth it. Well, that was an adventure. I'm sure I did it 20 ways wrong, and I'll figure it out. I'll get better at it, but it's off. The rim's in good shape, so let's get the new tire on. It's the same Pilot 4. On the tire, there is a rotational indicator, and I believe that is it, saying it rotates this way. So that's the way it goes on with that. Lube it up again with our Windex. I'm going to use a rag to try to keep the overspray from going inside. So theoretically, I should be able to just get the one side on. maybe. There we go. The bead. And let's see. I'm hoping that I can get started and get my rim shields in place. Alright, and we'll get the valve core back in. And the seed should pop. So there's the package that the balance beads comes in. Easy tire beads. Ceramic balancing. Comes complete with enough beads for the front tire and the rear tire. The rear tire takes 2 ounces and the front tire takes 1 ounce. So it comes with some instructions. Oh, very nice valve core tool. And this is the 1 ounce of beads for the front tire. And there's a 2 ounce packet for the rear. And a little bottle to fill it up through the valve stem. I suppose you could throw them in before you set before you got the other bead over the rim, but I had no way to know how I was going to do on that. So, hey, so one other thing it comes with the balance beads is this plastic tube. So you put the balance beads in the little jar here. Apparently cut the top off. Get that on top of the applicator. You put this on top of your valve stem with the core out, and in they go. So they say. So let's give that a try. There's some videos online I've seen of these where the demonstration has got a water bottle, just a half-liter water bottle, empty, and he threw a 10 or 20 gram wheel weight on the outside to throw it out of balance. They mounted it from the lid side onto an electric drill and spun it up, and you can see it's completely out of balance. Then they threw in an ounce of these beads, spun it up, and immediately goes right into balance, no matter what. It's really kind of cool. Maybe I'll put a link into the notes so you can see that yourself. Valve stem up. Put the adapter tube on our valve stem here. Get that on snug. They say if they get stuck, in the tube, which they have. Just tap it, they'll go in. Well, I'm tapping. They're not going in. Got the beads in, at least that one tube full. Used a paper clip and to poke them through, but this is gonna take forever, I think. I think putting them in, see if I take the paper clip and pop it around in there, they go in. So it's going to take a little bit to get them in. If I had put them in before I set the bead, maybe even with the bottle, that would have been so much better, but frankly, since I've never put a tire on before, I had no idea whether I was going to spill them all out or what the heck was going to happen. So I guess we'll just do it the slow way here. Well, we're almost there. That's it. Yes. Oh, simple. Right? Well, here's the wheel with the sprocket removed, and this is our seal. There's the bearing inside, so we've got to get the seal out first, and just should be able to get in there. Screwdriver and get that out. There's our old bearing. So we'll have to get those out as well. Now there's 3 bearings in here. There's this one. There's one on the back of this crush mount, I think they call it. This comes out, it's rubber mounted, and then one on the other end of the wheel. So I'm going to get this out first, take this whole unit out, and see if we can't muscle it out that way. Easiest way to get this off is to actually put the sprocket back on with just a few of the nuts and lift it right out, I hope. Like that. Other seal off. That's how that comes off. Alright, well it turns out my snap ring pliers were too small to fit this. I have to go out and buy another pair. Snap ring pliers I got before were I used on the rear master cylinder rebuild. Well, they didn't work here, so these are a new pair. Okay, we've got the circlip out, the snap ring out. So now let's just clean this. I'll just clean this out with a little brake cleaner. Okay, so I think the bearing comes out this way. So I don't have a bearing tool, so I'm hopeful that this will work. And What this is just a big old 10-inch bolt, half-inch bolt, 10 inches long with 2 nuts on it, so that the nuts, so that the end of the bolt isn't actually touching the bearing. It's actually the surface of the nut that's touching. Yeah, it's definitely moving now. You want to make sure it comes out even, not cockeyed, or you get it stuck in there, and that'll be the end of it, I suppose. All right, a little bit more, and hopefully it'll pop right out. If you notice, I'm moving it from side to side, the punch here, to try to keep it even. Almost. Aha! Success. And there's our bearing. Okay, so we'll clean up all that, get it nice and spick and span before we put the new bearing in. So we'll just again use a little brake cleaner. You want to get, I think my theory is that I want that surface just as clean as possible before I put that new bearing in. So I'm going to really take my time here and clean this out properly. So let me just do that and I'll be right back with you. Okay, got the bearing out and I cleaned it all up. I've got my bearing driver, I've got my new bearing, and got some high temperature grease. So what we're going to do is grease the just a little bit on the inside here to help this go in. And then a little on the outside of the bearing. Actually just a skosh here because this is just to let it help it go into the race. There it goes. Okay. Going in nice and straight. I like that. Now it's got to go all the way down and hit home at the bottom, or it won't go back together right. Just now coming, I can just now see the recess there for the snap ring. That looks like she's home right there. I'll put the snap ring back in. Oh, that went in so much nicer than it came out. So here's our new seal. I'm going to put that in now. And I'm going to just put just a little grease around the outside of it to help it go in as well. Just go in. Alright, well, you won't be able to see it, but inside here I can see there's a tube, basically. It's a big spacer, and I can move it. I can cock it around from side to side, and I can see the inside surface of the bearing on the other side, which is what I want to see, so I can tap it out. So I guess I'll just keep moving it back and forth. Good morning. Well, a lot has happened since I was last filming. I think the last time I was filming I was down on my hands and knees wrestling over a wheel bearing on the rear wheel, trying to get that out, and only to find that there's no way to get the bearing out without a bearing puller. Not on this guy. If you remember, there's a spacer bar tube basically between the two wheel bearings, and that moves, it floats. And I thought I could move it out of the way, you know, enough to get some purchase on the back side of the bearing and bang it out. I don't know, maybe 1/8 of an inch maximum was exposed of the face of the the inner race of the bearing by moving the spacer, so that was not going to work. So I went out and I bought a bearing puller. We're going to try to use that today. Some other things have changed too. I mentioned I was on my hands and knees wrestling with the tire and the bearing, and that just that didn't feel good. So I built myself, let me show you here, I built myself a little table on wheels, not lock. Actually, I built two. Now I get the tire up on that and I can work like a human now, so that'll be a huge improvement, I think. So let's get that tire back up there and see if we can't get the bearings out using a bearing puller. So let's see how this bearing puller works. Well, I have an impressive looking and a number of these chucks. So I guess we just need to pick the right size. I think it's going to be this one. Okay, that fits snug inside the bearing. Well, I'm going to need to heat this. It's actually quite cool out this morning. This is been sitting outside. It's actually very cold. I'm going to heat this with a hot air gun. I'll heat the wheel around it and try to get that to expand a little bit to get this to sneak out. It's really tight, but I can tell I think this is going to work. Let's get that heat gun on it. So believe it or not, this heat gun I think will get up to like, I think it's like 450, 500 degrees. Success. So we got the one bearing out. Let's see if we can get this other one out. Well, that is totally the trick to heat that, heat it up first. That works great. Alright, like we did before, we'll get just a little grease inside the race, just so it'll help the new bearing go in, and a little on the outside for the same reason. Sounds like it's driven home. All right, here's our new seal. And just like last time, we'll put a little grease around the seal to help it get inside. Erase with this guy goes up against the Oh, now I know why I couldn't get it to move. There's a little recess in there. Okay, that's why. Which is nice now because it's just a little recess that centers it, so I know the bearing's going to be centered on top of it, which is important. All right, get a little grease in there. Bearing. Give that a tap in. Okay, we need to get the front tire off to change it, so I've loosened up the 2 pinch bolts on the axle nut, and now we'll try to get the axle nut off. Okay, that's loosened up. So let's get it up on the stand. Well, that does it for our major maintenance on the 2012 Ninja 1000. This was shot over a couple of days and then re-edited to make each maintenance item a separate video or a couple within a single video. The actual sequence of events was obviously removing the fairings first, then doing the air cleaner, since that takes time to soak and rinse and dry and all that fun stuff. And while that was soaking or drying, I did the oil change, then the spark plugs, then the coolant, then tested everything, made sure it all worked, and topped off any fluid levels as necessary. Then we loosened the front sprocket, and then removed the chain. Then removed the rear wheel, changed the rear tire, replaced the bearings on the rear, replaced the rear sprocket, and then replaced the front sprocket. We then installed the rear wheel, installed the chain, and then we did all the work on the front tire and front sprockets. If you missed any of the prior episodes, you can check them out in the playlist or the individual videos I have posted and go through it in sequence if you'd like. So I hope this was entertaining for you. It was certainly cost savings for me. I learned a few things along the way and a few tips on how not to do it. But that's what I'm trying to learn. So if you have any comments or ideas of what we should work on next, or how we should do things better, or how I can do things better, please leave them in the comments, and I certainly will read them and try to respond to you. And thanks for watching, and tune in next time. Take care.